if you don't compromise, then why isn't the shutdown partially your responsibility as well?
It has nothing to do with us. It has the president saying, I will hold 6 agencies of government hostage to my campaign promise that I was going to build a wall and that Mexico was going to pay for it. That is so ridiculous.
I don't know if she answered the question. All right, Kellyanne Conway with us, right now. She's a counselor to the president. I don't know if she has a chance to watch the interview with the future Speaker of the House.
Let's hope not. She should be watching this show, right?
Hello. So Kellyanne, is it ridiculous that the president's holding the government hostage?
Well, the president's not. In fact, the president invited the 8 leaders from the House and the Senate yesterday to the Situation Room for this very purpose, and he also remained here over Christmas and New Year's. He wants to negotiate a good deal on border security. Nancy Pelosi and her ilk keep calling it the wall because they want that to be a 4-letter word that is a non-starter. But she and other Democrats have voted for secure fences. They voted for wall funding in the past. They certainly voted for border security. All that's changed is that the border has gotten worse. Of the 20,000 people who came over the border in December, Customs and Border Patrol tell us about 4,000 were kids under the age of 5. Yeah. They're tender age. They come here. And this perilous journey, the president said yesterday, does not want them to take this journey in the first place because it is dangerous. Some of them are seeking medical care. Some of them are hospitalized. It's not fair to them. And if Nancy Pelosi really cared about those kids, she would have at least listened to what the Secretary of Homeland Security, the head of Customs and Border Patrol, and the head of Immigration and Customs Enforcement yesterday was trying to present the facts and the figures to her. They kept interrupting Secretary Nielsen. They don't want to hear the facts and the figures. They have to come to the table. This should be a nonpartisan issue. The border is everybody's business. Border security is national security. And I think she's really playing fast and loose with her politics here. And it's very disappointing because we need a secure border. We're a sovereign nation that needs a secure border. The fentanyl that was interdicted just last year was enough to kill every man, woman, and child in this country. They're stopping the smugglers, the criminal aliens. They voted against Kate Law. They voted against sanctuary cities. They voted against removing criminal aliens. They voted against fixing the loopholes. We know the Flores decision completely ties the hands of our administration in helping to return these folks back to their home countries and get them to come here legally. The president said yesterday, Fox covered it, we want people to come here, but we want them to come here safely and legally. Be part of the 33 million immigrants who have come here legally.
What you have described is, you know, as the Secretary of Homeland Security was starting her briefing and they interrupted her, and you said they didn't want to hear what she had to say. There's a fundamental difference between this president and those Democrats. They don't see what is happening on our southern border as a crisis.
They're now turning a blind eye to the humanitarian crisis, which includes children, tender-age children under the age of 5, in need of medical care, taking a perilous journey. Some of them are already ill. Some of them have never seen a doctor, haven't seen a doctor in a while. 2 have died because of this, and they're turning a blind eye to that. And I think that you can't call it anything but raw politics, because all we're trying to do is get together and say, look, we've had some great bipartisan action on criminal justice reform, on the opioid crisis, on any number of measures. Border security should be a nonpartisan issue that is met with bipartisan solutions. But if you are not even going to give the courtesy and the decency and the dignity to presentations of facts and figures of what is happening on our southern border, we can't come up with a solution. I think this is going to cost Nancy Pelosi ultimately. I know she's got a very left-wing freshman class coming in. Some of them are demanding that she not do a rules change. They're opposing her already. Then she also has a number of freshmen who just won their congressional seats in Trump districts. Democrats won in districts that Trump carried in 2016. So I think whether you're Nancy Pelosi or Mitt Romney, you're going to have a problem within your own party that you're not anticipating. All you need to do is come to the table with solutions. The president invited them all back tomorrow. We'll welcome them back tomorrow after they're literally elected the leaders of their parties in Congress, and they can come up and hopefully with a more seriousness of purpose. But you can't just ignore what the Secretary of Homeland Security is telling you about a humanitarian crisis. These kids are coming here. Look, we had a 65% of those who came across the border illegally, tried to in December, were minors or families. It used to be single males coming from Mexico. This was the vast majority of those trying to come illegally. Now it's families and it's unaccompanied children. It's people coming here
and they're not Mexicans
without their parents, and they're not Mexican. They're coming from the Northern Triangle countries. Mexico did a great job. The new government in Mexico negotiated an agreement with us, which will be litigated fully. Negotiated agreement with us to offer asylum in Mexico. So they will offer visas, work opportunities, safety, and so many of them are saying, no, we're coming forward. You're putting your children at risk. Please don't do that. Come legally. And we'll help you be one of the 33 million Americans who've done that. The president said yesterday he wants them to come legal, but they are ignoring a humanitarian crisis at the border.
Republicans say it's common sense. Yeah, we understand that. All right, so Nancy Pelosi's daughter, she said that this about her mom. She said she'll cut your head off and you won't even know you're bleeding, saying she's a tough individual, a tough cookie. She was on, as we played a little bit of that clip with Savannah Guthrie earlier. They aired it this morning. And she told Savannah this. She said, I don't know if he, meaning President Trump, knows how to deal with women in power and women with strength, but we'll see. Let's hope for the best in that regard. What's your reaction to that?
Oh, you know, Mitt Romney had binders full of women, but President Trump has senior advisors who are women. The director of the CIA, cabinet secretary, senior staff here, and obviously any number of members of Congress and United States senators, governors who are female. I hate identity politics, but who are female, who the president not only listens to, but tries to collaborate with in coming up with solutions for this country. And I think that the incoming speaker, if she has the votes today, the incoming speaker, to come in and say, well, to really try to insult the president personally is very poor form. She's a leader in this country now. She's number 3 in line to the presidency. It's just poor form. What I laughed yesterday is on a different network. Her daughter was on. It said Alexandra Pelosi, and it said Nancy Pelosi about to become speaker. And they chironed her as a documentary filmmaker. We probably should have mentioned she's also her daughter. But that's okay. People may have figured it out.
But Kellyanne, quick question.
By the way, nothing really screams youth and energy quite like the 78-year-old speaker and Joe Biden running for president.
Right. Kellyanne, what was with the poster yesterday on the table?
That's just the president. Sanctions are coming November 4th. But look, I think the president speaking for 95 minutes and holding forth on any number of issues shows his transparency and shows that he is always willing to have the press in the room. I talked to him last night after the Situation Room meeting, and he wants to invite them back and perhaps even let the cameras in. Well, they can all decide that. But he's always been for transparency. 55 minutes in the cabinet room last year. And that's also why he wants people like Mitt Romney to be a team player, not be out there just giving interviews and writing op-eds, but come with solutions. Come to Washington with solutions. Be part of the team. You know, 3 months from now, Mitt Romney will have voted with the president probably 95% of the time. So what is this really about? And this president welcomes people who have solutions, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, and he will have them here at the White House, but they need to listen to the director, the Secretary of Homeland Security, the head of Customs and Border Patrol, who tell us that they need border security. They need more people at the border. They need steel slats. They need a wall. They need any number of measures to help us. But the
poster just happened to be there, or was it a message? I mean,
it was a message.
Are sanctions coming November 4th, or what are they?
Well, I'll let it speak for itself, and the president maybe will be asked about that later on.
Okay.
But a lot was said yesterday.
It looked like a movie poster, didn't it?
Well, it looked like a movie poster. I see. That's certainly what people focus on. But we need border security. He's not going. His first and solemn duty is to keep us safe in this country, and border security is national security. We spend so many billions of dollars. Nancy Pelosi's plan is $54 billion for foreign aid, the president said yesterday. We can't find $5 billion for border security. Let's find it and get together.
No doubt about it. Something's got to be done, some negotiating, and maybe it'll happen tomorrow. Thank you very much,
Thanks,
Kellyanne Conway.